love you.
Welcome, all you sexy couch potatoes out there, and all you non-sexy couch potatoes out there.
That's
to a
inclusive.
Yeah, covering the grounds there. Yeah, trying to keep it real. This is gonna be a low energy, high volume. That's not gonna be high volume. Low energy, low volume episode. It's a special episode. It's a Patreon episode. Our first.
Yeah. Thank you.
I am the Green Traveler from Gorge.
And I am the Faceless Leon. This is a podcast about movies and TV. And as the Traveler said, we are doing this for our patrons out there. If you are interested in becoming a patron, you can go to patreon.com/greenandfaceless. And then you can find out what the magnificent tiers might offer for you. Every tiered patron, they have the opportunity to vote for what this episode might be. And our sofa spuds, I forgot.
Yeah.
Our sofa spuds and our higher tiers, they get to make a recommendation for this episode. In fact, this recommendation comes from Patreon user Delma Callahan. I didn't forget Delma. How could you forget Delma? And I forgot like if I wanted to say patron or Patreon, and so I said both. And now you're gone.
Yeah, I just give up on it.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm just going to say Patreon for everything.
That's fine. Patron. I'm just confused because they did both things for one website. So that's all. That's
right.
How my brain works. It is mush. Anyhow, Delma recommended that we do this throwback romance movies, and they're pretty good. I'll say that up front. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, I saw her selection, and which we should say is When a Man Loves a Woman.
That's right.
Bridges of Madison County and Serendipity. Those are the three films. I feel like some point in time in my childhood I was forced to watch them. Like they were on TV and like I wasn't allowed to leave the room because mom had to keep an eye on me or something. And like I don't remember any of them, but when I saw that she had recommended them, I was like, "Ooh, I'm not okay, I'll do it." But I was like, I like a good romance. I enjoy a really good rom-com, but there was just something about all three of these that I saw it and I was like, I don't know, I wasn't like really feeling it. And they all surprised me. They all really did surprise me.
They're really good recommendations. They did surprise me too. Yeah, I have to say that I had a little prejudice going in as well, which I'm kind of disappointed in myself for having that, because I think previously on the show or it was just in conversation, I can't remember, I said that there's a stigma on rom-coms, especially with the term chick flick, which I'm sure we all kind of understand is problematic nowadays. But because of that stigma, I always felt like I wasn't supposed to like these movies. But some of them are really good and a lot of fun. But I thought these were all going to be rom-coms, and one of them I said was. The other two definitely were not. So yeah.
For me, the hesitancy came in the actors because I saw When a Man Loves a Woman stars Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan,
right? And
I love Meg Ryan. I think she's great, and Andy Garcia is good. But when I was thinking of Andy Garcia and a romance, I was like, no, I'm not sure about that.
I honestly don't really know anything about his career.
I really don't know much either, besides like this and like one other film, which I believe was a gangster film. So
I could see him doing a gangster role pretty well, and I mean he did this well too. So
yeah, it was kind of a cheesy gangster movie, but it was still funny. I just don't remember the name of it. I think it's The Untouchables. But then like with Bridges of Madison County, again, the actress, the female actor, Meryl Streep. I love her. I think she's great. Going opposite Clint Eastwood. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about him in a romance role. I'm not. It's like, again, it was the exact same one. I'm just not sure about this. And then we get the Serendipity. And yet again, I love Kate Beckinsale. She's absolutely wonderful. And I think she's very beautiful. and then it's John Cusack on the other side. I'm like,
hey, the dude, romance movies are his bread and butter. Come on.
I don't know. I can't stand Cusack's one of those actors that like I only see John Cusack. I can't.
He and Joan, or is it Joan or Jane? His sister, anyway.
I don't remember. Yeah,
I feel that way about both of them too, but I still really enjoy them.
There's for me, there's one movie in John Cusack's filmography that I was like, there's a character that I'm really enjoying, and I'm thinking it's only because of Stephen King, and that's 1408. I really love that horror movie.
Oh,
it's not a great horror movie. It's not a great horror movie at all. But I don't know. I can watch that and not just be annoyed by that's John Cusack. You know, it's like I'm more immersed in the story. But I think that's just because I'm a Stephen King nerd.
I like John Cusack. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe just a nostalgic draw. He always plays John Cusack, and he just seems like somebody that you could get along with. I don't know.
He always seems a little bit sleazy.
Oh yeah, he does play a lot of fairly sleazy characters, but there's something about him that, because I can't not see John Cusack, I feel like, no, John wouldn't do that. I put it out of my mind.
He's a good guy. But yeah, let's dive into the first film, When a Man Loves a Woman, 1994.
Loves a Woman.
It's written, fun fact, it's written by Ronald Bass and Al Franken. That's right, Minnesota Senator Al Franken.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's no longer Minnesota Senator, but...
Really?
Yeah, this is
the same guy?
Yeah, he was the one. Yeah, the one that was resigned due to some sexist comments and actions.
Well,
yeah, he
did write a pretty decent movie here, though.
Does that change your viewpoint on When a Man Loves a Woman in any way?
No, because honestly, I think what it's trying to do is pretty good. Yeah. There's some things that I think are problematic in it, but it is an older movie now.
Yeah.
What is it, 94, 96?
Ouch. Yeah, you say older movie. This is like 1 year younger than me.
Yeah, it's an older movie, Greg.
This movie is still fresh and beautiful. It's got plenty of life ahead of it.
Yeah, but movies, they age just a little bit faster than us.
I'm scared now. Now you got my existential crisis working in on my low energy mood.
I'm sorry.
But as I said, when a Man Loves a Woman stars Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan as a wedded couple.
Yes.
And as the movie goes on, as you grow to know the characters, you learn that Meg Ryan has an issue with alcohol that is quickly becoming a very big issue in her life.
Yes.
So much so that her kids' safety is into jeopardy.
That's right.
They have 2 daughters. I think one of them's actually not Andy Garcia's, right? The oldest is his stepdaughter.
That's right. But it's his daughter, though. Like he's been in her life since she was like 2 or 3, at least, because she seemed that young when they got married in the wedding video.
Yeah, and when Meg becomes apparent to Meg Ryan's character that alcoholism is destroying her life,
right,
she does actually try to fix it. She tries to, she goes to rehab and starts focusing on, getting it out of her life and staying away from it.
Yeah, I'll say she does go pretty deep down the hole. Like it's a good chunk of the movie, that expresses, which I kind of appreciated. I feel like this movie is all about, the main story of it is after the fact, after she finds help. But there is a good chunk of this movie that goes from fun, slowly more and more destructive, towards just some pretty sad things.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated the expose on alcoholism and how it affects families for this movie.
Yeah, especially how it affects a marriage.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of look into that psychology of, how Andy Garcia's character unwittingly influences her alcoholism.
Right.
At the beginning, it's just very innocent. It's just we're drinking, we're having a good time. And then it's like to boost the fun that they're having, he would encourage her to, drink more, or he always tried to be a very supportive husband.
Right.
But he didn't know how to enforce like a level of sobriety,
Right. He just, well, from his perspective, she's just cutting loose, trying to have a good time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
She's probably a little bit more drunk than I would have liked her to have been, but she doesn't drink all the time from his perspective. But then it becomes more and more obvious, like she keeps on going out with like work friends and stuff. But another big factor of the early part of the story is that he's an airline pilot. So he's away for like a week or two at a time. And when he's away, she's a little less careful of how she's hiding it. The eldest girl, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I'm gonna look it up. I believe it's Cassie, but that might be the younger daughter too. Nope, it's Jess. It's the older daughter's name is Jess. We probably all know her a little bit better from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Nice.
Tina Majorino. Probably mispronounced your name, but you were very talented as a child and very talented in that movie. And I can't say that I've seen you in much else personally, but I enjoyed your performance in this movie, and it made me really sad.
Yeah, all the stuff with her and her mom is very, at least in the beginning, is very upsetting.
Yeah.
But after Meg Ryan starts focusing on recovering from it,
Right.
it starts to become more, beautiful. There's a good relationship that grows there.
There's a part in the middle there while she's away where she is depending on the father character, Michael, and Meg Ryan's character's name is Alice. Michael, yeah, oh my God. We do a podcast.
I mean, I'm just going to keep calling them by the actors' names because I didn't really, I didn't connect to their characters much.
Not at least enough for the names for some reason.
No.
Mostly because I just, we know Meg Ryan. We've talked about her before, so I did really see Meg Ryan most of the time, but she did a great job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they both did.
At some point, Alice is taking a shower while Michael is away, while she's just super, super drunk. And she starts having, I think, like a coughing fit while she's in there. I can't quite recall.
Yeah, some kind of convulsion.
Exactly. There's a bit to this scene before this, but I think I'll leave that for the viewer. But she does crash in the shower and break through the shower door glass. And Jess finds her there and calls her dad, who is miles and miles away, and that's how the family discovers it. Well, we find out more and more in that middle part, as I was saying, that Jess knew about stuff, but she's a little kid, so she didn't quite understand. She's only getting it from the perspective of what her mother tells her, which is like, you have to wrap it up so that when you throw it away, so that people don't see it.
Some of those scenes are so like upsetting.
Oh yeah, they are.
When you watch and you're just like, oh,
it's like
just thinking about how it's gonna shape the child's mind at times.
Exactly. And there's this great scene though with her and Michael where they're throwing the bottles that they found around the house in the trash can and just let them just shatter. And it's a great cathartic moment and a good bonding moment between the two of them, even though that's probably not the most responsible parenting. But
I mean, sometimes that's the best thing you can do. Hey, if you gotta bond, it's a good way to bond, like you said. So
yeah, I agree. You gotta cut loose with your kids sometimes, especially in high stress family dramatic moments like this, I'm sure. Anyways, she eventually comes back, and the rest of the movie is them working on their possible relationship.
Yeah, with occasional appearances by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like,
oh yeah. Philip
did not expect
Hoffman
that. That was kind of fun.
Plays a fellow addict that is Meg Ryan and his character are kind of a little dependent on each other for their sobriety. They talk to each other as people in the group therapy setting, the step therapy setting will do is depend on each other to try to. I don't know if depend is the correct term, but you need somebody to talk to that's going through the same thing.
Somebody to rely upon.
That's right. Even just the talk to, really. I would assume.
Yeah. And like there's good moments where it's like you see what kind of a person Andy Garcia is, because he'll walk in on them just like lounging and like chatting in the living room.
Right.
And you could see it makes him mad, but he's just like, no, it's just, this is somebody she needs. I'm not gonna push the envelope. And he just he introduces himself, goes upstairs, like obviously very angry, makes the situation awkward. He's just trying to be supportive, and it's in such a way that it irritates her because she's recovering from something, she's rediscovering herself, and while doing that, even though he is being very supportive, it just puts a wedge between them. And that's that's kind of the second half of the film, is like exploring what it does to a relationship afterwards.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know, I feel like maybe we should leave where that leads them to the viewer, I think. For that third act.
Because I do recommend it.
Yeah, I do too. You know what? Yeah, I would like to just say, we've on other episodes pertaining to this issue, we've said, addiction is real. It is a disease, and these people need your help, not your ridicule, and it's hard to help them. It's really hard. And sometimes, as you've said, they just need somebody to talk to. So if you know somebody in your life, you can help them, or at least try.
Indeed. And with that said, I give it 3 stars. I love a good realistic love story where it explores, how life just gets in the way sometimes and changes a relationship. Again, good acting. It's a little too long. It's like a couple of minutes over 2 hours, which is for such a heavy subject. It's like, oof, let's cut that down to an hour and a half. But no, good acting, good story. I do like it. Do recommend it, but just know going in that it could be a little bit hard to watch especially if you know alcoholism. If you've dealt with alcoholism, it can be quite painful. Yeah,
it is. It does pull on the heartstrings, and in different ways too. And I would recommend it as well. It's a great expose, as I said earlier, and into this family matter that most families deal with, unfortunately, in some way, form or another. It might not be your immediate family, but somebody in your extended family, I'm sure that you care about, probably does experience this. Anyhow, I would say that there's some things that I did have a problem with in this movie. Like there's this at one point where Michael throws a table, and it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't really care how bad it is. I don't think that display of violence and dominance is okay. Yeah. And you know what though? I'm sure it's fucking hard, and I've never been through that situation.
Yeah.
But I don't like when your hero of the film, or I don't know if hero is the correct term for this film, but if your lead in the film that you're supposed to be sympathizing with, when they lash out like that, machismo wise, I don't care for that. But besides that, it's a full-faced movie, and I do recommend it. So
yeah, it's like Jesus like destroying the temples.
Yeah, like Jesus destroying the temple. Yeah.
This movie actually reminded me a lot of, well, I guess I should say the other movie reminded me of this movie, Marriage Story. Came out a couple years ago with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
Did we not talk about that?
We haven't reviewed it, no, but okay. But I highly recommend that movie. I really love that movie. That movie honestly seems, I mean, it doesn't deal with alcoholism, I don't remember.
Right.
But it does deal with, an eroding relationship. And so, it has fairly good similarities to that, but I would say Marriage Story did it better. But
it was pretty good.
If you've seen that movie and you really like Marriage Story, I think you might like.
It might have taken some inspiration from this movie.
Maybe.
Honestly. But yeah, recommend both those movies. So, should we move on to the bridges of Madison County?
Yes, sirree, Bob.
All right.
Came out in 1995.
So Meryl Streep's character, Francesca Johnson, living with, I believe her husband is Richard. Yeah, because I kept on getting confused because Clint Eastwood, not her husband, is named Robert. And Robert and Richard, I mean, like, come on. That's... like, name one of them John. He could be John Johnson for all I care. Anyhow.
For real.
Francesca, she is a housewife in Iowa. She is of Italian descent. And she is kind of a little bored with the farm life, but she knows that she's with good people. And she appreciates everything. I think, her family immigrated there when she was fairly young. So she is Italian born, and Meryl Streep does a great job with the accent. And while Richard and the kids, Michael and Carol, who are reading about this in a journal, are away at like some like 4-H club bullshit, I don't really know. They're gone. They're in DC, I guess. And Clint Eastwood is coming to take pictures, Robert Kincaid, for, I guess, Nat Geo, of the bridges in the county of Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they meet each other, and she helps him out. Is that all I should say? I don't know.
I mean, while helping him out, they both start to just kind of explore a bit of freedom.
That's right.
They're both kind of just in their ways anymore. He's just kind of a drifter going from town to town, just doing his job. And she, as you said, she likes her husband. She likes her family life. She doesn't mind it. It's just mundane.
That's right.
And then this wild flame starts to brew, and let's explore that for 4 days. And
it made a pretty interesting story, I will say. I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean, again, all three of these movies surprised me, but I think this was the one that surprised me the most because, I like Clint Eastwood. I really like his westerns. I think he's great there. I've liked some of his directing. I think he has some good movies out there that he's directed, but for the most part, I don't really expect great acting from Clint Eastwood. I just expect, good acting.
Yeah.
Here, it's the chemistry he has with Meryl Streep throughout this film is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a testament to Meryl's skills as well, that he was able to bounce off of her really well.
Right. Because
I do agree with you. Like, I feel like he does the job adequately, whatever he does. But sometimes it's just Clint Eastwood. But Kincaid is, I feel like, a slightly different character than what he usually portrays for us. He's a free and wild spirit, living off the range of his camera scope. That's a terrible and much delayed joke.
There you go. You brought it home. You brought it home.
Okay,
you
good.
stuck with it. You stuck with it to the end. That's all that matters. But no, I would say that it's also a testament to Clint Eastwood's directing, because how he filmed this, he filmed it in 42 days, and he filmed it in order. So every scene was shot in order to better emulate their growing chemistry. Because him and Meryl, I don't think, I don't know if they'd worked together before, but I don't think they had. So this is kind of like the first time they had met, and he just, day one, they just started filming from that first scene, and as they grew with each other as actors, so did their characters develop. And it was a really smart decision, because it really just, it adds to the film a lot. Because, again, both of these characters are content with where their life is at, but they wouldn't mind exploring this wild passion that's, that's stirring up. And, as you said, it's very, very intriguing story that comes from it.
Yeah, and it happened, it really builds very steadily and subtly. You can tell right away that Francesca thinks Robert is interesting, because I don't think otherwise she would offer to go with him. But she is very, very bored. She is literally just sitting on the porch when he drives by. It is It is a happenstance meeting. And, sometimes that shit happens in your life where you just meet somebody.
Yeah.
But that doesn't typically turn into a romance like this.
Are you talking serendipity?
What? What?
What?
Serendipity?
Oh, man.
Before we even started recording, I said the storyline between this movie and Serendipity, our third movie, is very similar.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, except this one's over the course of 4 days, and then Serendipity's over the course of like years.
Yeah, it's like I think it's 10 years.
Yeah, you're exactly right though. They really are the same, and I didn't realize that even after we had watched it. I was just like, man, they're very similar, but they literally are basically the same.
Yeah, but told completely differently, which really, really just expresses the power of storytelling in general, because you could tell the same story over and over again, but if you have a different storyteller, it's gonna feel and be completely different.
Yeah. Speaking of, this is based on a novel by Robert James Waller. Its script was circulating for a while. Like there was, there's so many different authors who were trying to write it, and I think like the third screenwriter, which was Richard Lagravenese. I don't know. Sorry. But he wrote a script that apparently followed Francesca or focused on Francesca more. So I'm wondering if the book focuses on Robert Kincaid instead.
Huh.
Yeah, apparently that script was what intrigued Clint Eastwood and Steven Spielberg. Don't know if you noticed, this was Amblin Productions that I think that produced it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Steven was initially going to direct, and then it was just going to star Clint Eastwood, I think. But Steven dropped out for some other film, and Clint Eastwood took over. But it was also produced by. I also remember this popped up at the very beginning, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It was produced by Kathleen Kennedy, she who reigns over Star Wars now.
Yeah, that is interesting. A bit of a leap, but she had several years for that to happen.
Right. She went from this to Star Wars. Look at her
go. I guess it was probably a very steady slope that she climbed. Yeah,
straight from Amblin Entertainment up through Lucas.
So this movie, I'm really trying to think of what else to talk about this movie besides things that I had problems with it. I honestly really liked the story and thought it was, like you said, well directed, well acted, and pretty good script too. What you said about the script, I did have a comment about that. This movie's definitely from her perspective. So I'm kind of surprised that the novel is different than that.
I don't know if it is.
They just said they focused on.
Yeah, I just remembered that his focus on the narrative focus being on Francesca more intrigued Clint Eastwood. So I don't know if other writers went with a more male focused narrative or what.
Maybe it was the other script writers, because the bookends of this movie where the children, now adults, are reading this journal about this romance their mother had, that feels like it's straight out of a novel, and honestly it does not fit. I don't like it. It's not necessary. I feel like they could have cut all that shit.
They really could have. I kind of liked it as a bookend. I think if you had just been like at the beginning, that's how you walk into it, and then at the end, that's how you come out of it. That would have been fine. Cutting back and forth, like you said, it didn't fit. Like it felt really weird.
Though I feel like I would have actually had more of a problem with it if it was just at the beginning and the end. Mostly because like the scenes with those two characters, the middle ones are better than the end ones. Because oh my god, that opening scene, I really wasn't sure about that movie, because I really hated the son character. Like, he was just walking all over this guy who was reading the will. The future storyline is after Francesca's death. Anyhow, he's just like, no, we're gonna fucking bury her because that's the Christian thing to do when she wanted to be cremated. And it's like, dude, just respect your mother's wishes. Like, what kind of a son are you? Jeez.
It's really sick. I really hated him at the beginning too. I forgot about that whole scene.
And he does get some development through reading this story with his sister, but I just
Which
didn't care.
Like.
And I did, yeah. I liked those scenes, but because of that first scene, I did not care. I did not care if this guy developed or not. I didn't want him to be a part of the story.
It was. I agree. I really didn't care about his character, but it was intriguing, or I guess interesting. Not really intriguing, but it was interesting to see how reading about his mom's affair affected him.
Right.
Yeah. So it kind of just, as an author, it kind of raised a lot of like good story ideas in my mind, where I'm like, ooh, that'd be kind of fun to focus on in the future with characters of my own. But here again, like you've been saying, it's just not needed. Like, it's really weird and out of place.
Yeah, it does feel out of place, and it might just because it's two different periods. Like the main story is in the 60s and in Iowa, so like it just feels like I've never seen anything really that focuses in the plains like that.
Right. People from Iowa might argue that the 60s Iowa is about the same as 90s Iowa. Just maybe clunkier cars.
Yeah. They I mean, I'm sure that some of them at least have video games now.
Sorry, Iowans.
My neighbor's an Iowan. That's all I'll say about that.
Great. Now the government knows where you're at.
Oh, fuck.
They honed in on you.
Oh, God, shit. Well, anyhow, there is one other negative I had about this movie. And
hit me.
So Meryl Streep, I'm going to say she did an amazing job in this role. But it does seem a little bit weird to me, and, might be modern audience lens. It's a little bit weird that they, made her 3 or 4 times tanner than she is and had a darker hair color so that she would look Italian. I mean, there are some blonde-haired, blue-eyed Italians. So, I mean, she could have just accent, but instead that's probably not her choice. I don't know. Though she could have done the sun tanning to get to that place.
I
don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I was only thinking the tan was because she's a farmer.
That's true.
That's what I was thinking the tan was for. I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah, but she was definitely tanner than her husband and her kids.
Yeah.
And it did feel a little bit that it was makeup. So for me, it seemed a little bit appropriation-y, but, I don't know how the people out there feel about white people appropriating white people. I don't know if that's a problematic area or not, but it seemed weird to me, so I wanted to mention it.
Like I agree with you. I didn't notice it at all. It didn't affect my viewing.
It didn't affect your viewing. Okay, well,
no, I didn't notice it, but
anyhow,
that might just be because of how good of an actor
she is. She's amazing. Yeah, she
did get nominated.
Well, she usually did.
Right. It seems like every year she's nominated for something.
She is so good. I actually took a class that was on Meryl Streep when I went to undergrad. It was only on Tuesdays, and every other week we would just watch one of the movies, and then the other week we would talk about it. And that was the class. It was a good class.
Nice. And you didn't talk about this movie?
No, we didn't talk about this movie. We talked about a lot of other movies, but we only had so many weeks.
I saw her get her honorary degree because she came to IU to receive that. So I was in the audience to watch her receive her reward.
Now I know we went to IU.
And we've mentioned that before. You've mentioned it.
Yeah, I know, but I thought we took it out.
You gave it away. No, I didn't. Well, maybe you did. Oh shit.
I didn't. I did mention like another university that another person went to, and we've
graduated. We've gone so further from there. We're not affiliated with them in any way.
No, not anymore.
We don't live there.
We don't live there. You don't know where we are.
I live in a hole under the ground.
Me too, with him.
No, you don't. You don't live in my hole.
Oh wait, last time.
Don't lie
at
to
least,
the people.
I don't know about last time, but time before last or times before, some time ago, we said that it's all a joke. It's all a joke. We're just two people, not space alien and amorphous person.
No, I got my vaccine shot just yesterday. You know, just like a good human.
How could he do that if he was not a human? How could he do that?
That shit's not good for Gortians. I couldn't get it if I was a Gortian.
That's right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. The government did not specially make ones for us. They're not still working on the one for me because I can apparently still get COVID.
Well, you like mutate around it. Like every time they put anything in your arm,
then I would
just,
be like
absorb it.
I know, but it would be like if I got it, I would just be a giant COVID machine. So we don't want that.
No.
Yeah. My cells would just be constantly.
That would be kind of cool, though.
Yeah,
you'd be a pretty good weapon.
You
can't do that.
Oh
though.
shit!
Government, no, you can't. Don't get the government ideas. I'll have to think that. That might excite the government too much.
All right. Well, closing statements. I think, unless you got more to say about the bridges.
No. The bridges are beautiful. We had our own.
They are.
We had our own covered bridge where I grew up, which was nowhere in Indiana, not at all.
No. It was on Gorsh.
The beautiful covered bridges of Gorsh. Yeah, they're magnificent. But it was like, it was one of those that you would like drive down and like you would be afraid the whole thing would fall because you'd hear the boards rattling beneath you, and you could hear bats up in the rafters above you. It was always pretty spooky, but I always loved it. It was such a rustic experience.
People I feel like people try, but there's not that much funds going towards keeping them in decent shape, unfortunately.
Right. But I give this movie 3.5 stars. It's very entertaining. It has the same negative issue with When a Man Loves a Woman, which is it's a little long. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with that. I like the 4-day period is a good period. It's just there's some moments where I'm just bored, and it was like just you can pick it up a tiny bit.
But though I feel like in the beginning, especially, it needs a little bit of that time to, make you feel the boredom that she feels.
Yeah, but there's other times like towards the second and third act where it's just like, all right,
yeah,
I'm tired of this moment. Let's drag it on. Like let's get going through this. And
that's true.
But the acting is good. The chemistry's fun, and it's just all around. It's just a good package story. Like I really like what they do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. It gets a face. I don't really know what else to say about it. I talked about what I thought was not great about it, but yeah, all around I love the movie. And you know what? It's one of those strange things where like you end up where you started, and I did not the way that they did it. I felt good at the end of the movie instead of, which is what the kids kind of get from it too, from reading these journals. So I appreciate it for that. It's well crafted. Great job, Clint Eastwood and Meryl and everybody else.
Yeah.
Ding.
Yeah, it's just a nice little thought where it's just like if you were in the kid's position, like if you found something of your mother's that like not specifically about an affair or anything, but like something very personal like that, it's just a good bonding moment, especially post life. If you catch that, and it's just like you kind of learn more about your parents than you thought you ever would. So it's an intriguing story. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But let's move on to its twin. It's it's 2001 twin. Just before the towers actually 9/11 happened. Serendipity came out, and they had to remove. Maybe it might have come out after the attacks, but they had to like digitally remove the twin towers from the skyline.
Wow.
Just because they were worried that rightfully, it's just the grief that would come from such a situation. So it's just like that. This is that weird pocket of time where that big event affected things, but didn't affect them in a way that it's in this movie in any way, because it was all obviously filmed beforehand. But that said, that's the Serendipity. It's directed by Peter Chelsom, who you might know for Hannah Montana the movie. He directed Hannah Montana the movie. That was his big hit.
I didn't. In fact, I don't know if I even knew Hannah Montana had a movie, to be perfectly honest.
Dude, that was about... Okay, so I was a kid, and I would definitely watched Hannah Montana.
Oh, I watched some of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I dropped out just before the movie. I don't know when the movie came out, so I'm afraid to say that I dropped out just before the movie, because that might be like very late into the show. I only watched like maybe the first season or 2 seasons of that show. I really don't know how long it ran, but I definitely have not seen the movie. But this was his like first success after like so many failures. He apparently has one of the worst commercial failures in cinema history.
Really?
With the film that came out like just before this called Town and Country. He filmed it for $90 million and it grossed a little over $10 million.
Oh no.
So it's like I know there's movies out there that have had a bigger letdown, but like $80 million loss for that film.
Jeez.
And here he puts forth Serendipity, a written in stone romance, well, more of like a romance of faith, I guess. Who is it? Kate Beckinsale and John Cusack.
Right.
They like meet each other by happenstance.
One night in New York.
Yeah, one night in New York. And they're just two. They're both with somebody, right? Like they're both dating someone else, but like that's right. Their eyes catch.
Yeah, they want to buy the same gloves for those significant others.
They bond over these gloves. They fight some other guy for the gloves, and when they're walking out, John Cusack just can't let her go, and he has to keep. He keeps pushing her. He keeps talking about fate, and maybe this is like some epic design. Them falling for each other. He has to know what it's like.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit the other way, isn't it? I think that she was the one that was more like fate and shit, and he was like, oh, so you don't really believe in free will, that kind of thing. And she kind of convinces him through that night that fate is at play until the very end, I would say.
Yeah, it felt more like fun for me from her. Like, it seemed like it was more like she was just doing it out of fun, where he was actually interested in the idea. Right. Like, I think he was skeptical, but I feel like he was the one that was, like, very focused on this is a fateful thing, and I have to find her. Huh. And, because they both start here, like, they become very involved in the idea, very obsessed with it. Right. Because they both start hearing, they have, like, I don't remember their names, it's, like, Joe and Sarah. Like something really simple.
He's John, I think.
Oh, is he just John?
Yeah, Jonathan Traeger.
Jonathan Cusack.
Jonathan, yeah, he just gets to be John. Like, what a job that is like, you get a job and they're just like, hey, you mind if we just call you by your name? It's like, I will answer to it more often. So yeah, I don't mind.
So yeah, it makes it easy on me. Oh man. Yeah, they have this wild night where they leave so much up the chance and things keep pushing them back to each other, and that becomes their life over the next 10 years or whatever, where they both grow and start moving on, and then they'll hear the other one's name constantly throughout their whole day, and it's like, oh, I think the universe is trying to tell me that maybe I shouldn't be with this woman I'm about to marry. I should go looking for her, for that one wild night lady that I had in New York.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the story, is them, 10 years later after they met, they both reach an apex in their relationship. Their relationships their separate relationships that are about to take huge steps. And both of them step back from the relationship and think, is this what I want? And looking into that, their paths just bring them back to each other, and it's this like wild hunt between them to find each other, and it's entertaining. I give this the biggest prop I give this film is it is 90 minutes. It's an hour and a half. It's quick entertainment,
and it tells its story pretty well, I would say.
I agree. It's fluid. It's fun. This is the shit I eat up. I'm a romantic, like, hardcore.
Right.
Like I I don't believe in God, but I do believe in fate. So it's like I do believe that there is a design, like a path. And so it's just like I do imagine that kind of a romance being something that, I would fall for
Right.
in reality.
Star-crossed.
Yeah, but I just don't see that shit in real life, honestly. But I love hearing about it. When you do hear about those tales, it's that's the kind of shit that I just swoon over. I fucking love it. And so this movie has all of that. It's a very, as you said, star-crossed lovers. It's a fun tale to follow, even though there are some moments where I'm just like, all right now, like,
Yeah.
it's just, there's some low-hanging fruit, silly moments that I guffaw at, but I did so out of the stupidity of it. But for the most part, I enjoyed the film.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the humor. I mean, it's definitely humor of the early 2000s era. Like, you can definitely tell, like, even though this is pretty much just the turn of that, and their production, like you mentioned earlier, was before the 9/11 attack, you can still see a huge difference between the style and even the way the movie is directed from this and When a Man Loves a Woman, which I use that as the example because it is set in the modern period of when it was filmed. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just the film texture feels so different, and like their clothing and everything is just, oh my god, it definitely feels like it is crisper, the film quality and whatever, but their costumings and stuff is definitely feels like the early 2000s before it got really crazy. Like it definitely only escalates from there. About.
Fashion's always been beautiful in the 2000s. I don't know what you're talking about. And the 90s rocked too.
Yeah, you don't quite got, all the frosted tips yet in this, but she's definitely got Kate Beckinsale definitely has a haircut that was popular throughout the entire era, I swear.
Imagine if John Cusack did have frosted tips.
Yeah, that would be so good. No, his hair's too black.
Film an extra half a star.
Extra half a star for frosted tips. So we do have a couple extra characters that I feel like we should mention. We have Jeremy Piven playing Dean, who is John Cusack's best man. He doesn't have to be John Traeger. He's John Cusack. Anyhow, Dean really decides to help John on this search, like 2 days before his wedding, and up until the hour of his supposed wedding, for this other woman. So they're both kind of doing a little bit of a shitty thing, I feel like, for looking for these people while they have their own significant others who are really trying to be their partner for life, or at least for the next few years, as marriage sometimes happens. Mm-hmm. So we also have his fiance Hallie has a small part, and
I kind of feel bad for her.
I do feel bad for her. I'm having trouble finding the actor that is Sarah's best friend on IMDb.
Was it Molly Shannon?
Yeah, I believe it was. Like, she was from SNL.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if she played the friend or if she played Hallie.
No, Hallie was Bridget Mahoyan. I'm sorry, I'm worst.
Well, you know who also is in this movie that needs mention is Eugene Levy.
Yeah, he was gonna be the last one I mentioned because I love Eugene Levy.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're totally good. I just wanted to mention, I think it's that the actor that you mentioned, she was on SNL for a long time.
Molly Shannon.
Yeah. So I thought she did a great, very small side job. I was going to talk about her and Dean, how they were very good supporting cast, but they're definitely supporting cast. they don't get fleshed out too terribly well.
No, you do see a lot with Dean's life, specifically how he views his life compared to John, because like as he mentions, it's like John is his guiding spirit. It's just like you leave so much to chance, and like you're so believe in this like romantic view of fate. Right. So much, and it always works out so well for him that it's just like he was his shining light that kept him going, and it's kind of nice, but yeah, they are just support.
Which is really interesting though about the Dean character is that John and Hallie kind of look up to him and his wife's relationship because they seem like they're so in love, but the reverse is that Dean likes John because John does what he thinks is right for him. Yeah. No matter what, really. Even though it hurts people. But, it's better than being stuck in something and being unhappy is what Dean thinks. Yeah, he definitely gets a little bit more development, I would say, than Sarah's friend. Anywho, Eugene Levy works at Bloomingdale's.
But yeah. Oh, God. I love the man, and this is a great role for him.
Yeah,
like just being the obstinate store clerk, just like stay behind the line. You're not allowed to cross back here. What is wrong?
You're not supposed to be back here. Nope.
And always looking to make the better deal. It's a good salesman, is what it is.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a little behind on my sales quota. And it gets him to buy a whole bunch of shit, and then he doesn't know.
He's such a beautiful man in this movie. That was definitely one of the funnier bits.
Oh yeah, he really does not care about John or Sarah in the least.
No.
Yeah, he has no real purpose in the story besides that it does help John get to Sarah eventually, but that doesn't even pan out the way it's supposed to. So
no, but I do love how they like bring him back, how they keep using him. Like it's so funny. Again, as I said, I'm a sucker for these kind of films. Just to go into my closing statement on it, if you're good with that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I give it 3 stars. It ties with When a Man Loves a Woman, and in regards to rating, it's a fun little rom-com. It's I eat this shit up. This is the faithful romantic. It's everything I ask for in a romance. I'm easy to please in this kind of a market, and it doesn't fail. Even with John Cusack, who again I'm not always the hugest fan of him, but here I enjoyed him. I liked his chemistry with Kate Beckinsale, and a fun fact is the music's by Alan Silvestri, who does a lot of the Marvel movies, specifically the Avengers 1 and 3. He did those, and Back to the Future. He also did the music for Back to the Future. But it's just a fun little TV movie. I probably wouldn't have been happy if I'd seen this in the theaters. I think I would have been pleased in a theater.
Yeah, I think I would have been alright if I brought a date. I think I would have been pretty happy with that, because I don't know, like the overtones of this is meant to be. I could see that being helpful in that situation.
Yeah. It definitely makes it for a good date movie.
Yeah, I would agree. But, I do enjoy that both John and Sarah are kind of jackasses to their significant others. Yeah.
I feel a little different with Sarah's, because that guy, he's not a bad guy. It's just he's definitely not a focused guy.
Lars.
And yeah, he literally is just. Did you watch Blades of Glory? I think is the movie with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that's the ice skating one.
Yeah. He really is just like that version of that. Of Will Ferrell's character.
He does feel like that character. You're totally right.
And it's just like he's not really focused on a relationship. He's focused on himself and his career.
Right.
And he's not a bad guy. He really does like Sarah, but I don't know. I feel worse about Hallie than I do about Lars.
It is the day before her wedding day. They cancel it the day of. Yeah.
It's...
What, could you imagine? That's off. But you know what, though? At the same time, I do respect hey, I'm sorry it took me till right now to realize this, but this is not going to work. I appreciate that honesty instead of dragging it out and making both of you miserable. So, there's some merit to not going through with it because it's a big deal. It's a commitment, And I'm not going to say
John's an ass, but he's an honest ass.
He's an ass. He is.
But an honest ass.
Yeah. Which, you have to admire that to an extent. So let's wrap it up. Let's declare the patron pick winner.
First patron pick winner. We don't have to agree with it, obviously, but if we do agree with it, someday online we might do a tournament bracket for these. That'd be kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But I have to choose Bridges of Madison County. I really liked Serendipity because of the fact that I just eat that kind of shit up. Right. But at the same time, it's not as good of a movie as Bridges of Madison County, I would say. And even though I liked When a Man Loves a Woman, it was kind of hard to watch. And I don't think I would return to that kind of a heavy romance very often. But Serendipity and Bridges, I would say I would return to sometime, far more often than I would with the other one.
Right.
But yeah, I just love the chemistry between Meryl Streep and Clint Eastwood, and that idea of a fleeting romance that could have gone somewhere so special, but that memory that moment had is all they needed, and they'll cherish it forever. And it's it's a good story. I like it. It wins for me.
I can't agree with you more. I 100% everything that you said. The Bridges of Madison County is the winner for me as well, and I think it's for the same reason as you, that When a Man Loves a Woman is just a bit heavy on the heart, though it's a fucking good movie. I would say for that reason that is maybe more impactful than Bridges. We should abbreviate that. This is too long. Bridges of Madison County. Bonk.
Bridge Mac.
Okay, Bridge Mac. Anyways, Bridge Mac is, it's a good romance, and I feel like you feel good at the end of it, and so I recommend all three of these movies, but Bridge Mac wins.
Bridge Mac, baby.
Bridge Mac wins.
Boom. Unlike Meryl Streep, because she didn't win that Oscar, it went to Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, and maybe I'm the only one weirded out by her portrayal of an Italian person. I just feel like there's probably plenty of Italian actors in the industry at the time that they could have chosen from.
I don't think you're wrong to be weirded out. I think it was it was done in a way that I didn't notice it, even though I should have.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Well, that just speaks to her ability, because she really is masterful. Yeah,
she really is. And that's the show. I am the Green Traveler.
And I am the Faceless Leon. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Hey, this is a Patreon episode, and once a month we're going to do this for you, our patrons. And you get a vote if you become a tiered patron. Become a Sofa Spud, you get to recommend what the movies are. And the voting for the June episode is still open through tomorrow, I believe, because I believe this is coming out on the 6th, and we end voting on the 7th. So voting for each month is going to be between the 1st and the 7th of the month before. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of Fiction Works 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.